Hi, and welcome to the United Nations Youth Association series on Australia's human rights treaties.
We're aiming to open young eyes to our international commitments to protect human rights, starting with the rights of the child.
The UNCRC is a human rights-based approach to the care and protection of children.
Human rights are set out in three ways. First, that they are universal. They apply to all people.
They're indivisible, so they're equally important.
And they're inalienable. It means all people have them and they can't be taken away. The UNCRC sets out this approach not because it's the government's job to be nice to kids, but because governments should recognise the legitimate human rights which children are owed.
It was ratified by the UN General Assembly in 1989 and by Australia in December 1990. The Convention protects the rights of children by setting standards for healthcare, education, legal, social and civil services.
Over the past 2 decades, almost 70 countries have introduced children's codes into their legislation in response to the Convention's provisions. As well as this, the Convention has 2 optional protocols, introduced in the year 2000. Let's take a closer look at one of these now.
The first optional protocol on the involvement of children in armed conflict was passed in the year 2000, and it's designed to ensure that children under the age of 18 aren't involved in the armed forces of any country. There are, however, still cases where huge violations of this treaty exist within countries that have signed it.
One example of this is in Colombia, where young girls are recruited and used by militia groups in conflict. Some of these groups are 25 to 50% female, and some of the girls are as young as 8 years old. Girls are spared none of the hardships of military life. Their role is the same as that of boys. They're taught to handle weapons, collect intelligence, and take part in all military operations. Like all combatants, they're frequently injured or killed. In addition, girls in rebel forces face gender-related pressures. Though rape and overt sexual harassment are less common, many male commanders use their power and influence to form sexual liaisons with underage girls.
The Colombian government is in the process of ratifying the optional protocol on the involvement of children in armed conflict. However, the provisions of the protocol have been incorporated into domestic legislation that's been in place in the country since 2003. Under the provisions of the optional protocol, non-state actors are prohibited under any circumstances from recruiting and using children under the age of 18. But the challenge will be in the implementation of these provisions.
So what happens if you're keen to get involved and help promote child rights?
Well, step 1 is to educate yourself. There are resources listed below if you're keen to find out more, and you can also check out reports from the UN, from Human Rights Watch, and from independent researchers.
Step 2, get engaged. Organisations like Save the Children are always looking for donations and volunteers. Contact the branch in your local city and see how you can get involved.